Welcome back, everyone. So here we are in my, our home. This is a house I bought in 2018. 6 years ago this month. And I wanted to share with you guys some of the improvements I've made in the past week or so. See, when we moved in, we were in a rush to get things done. That meant, literally, I went from the closing over at a real estate office directly to Lowe's. And I was on a frenzy to just start getting things purchased, paints and supplies, appliances. Seriously, appliances. I did everything in one day. And that was a mistake that I made that I will live to regret. Because, well, not necessarily. I've corrected the paint issues, but I didn't think a lot of things through. I knew I needed, it was November, and Thanksgiving was coming, then the Christmas holiday season was coming. I'm like, I got to get this house ready to live in and perfect in 1 week. So let me tell you what I bought. So I got all the interior paint that I bought for every room was a semi-gloss. Now, semi-gloss paint looks nice on the right surface, in the right setting. Like, for example, if you're going to do trim, semi-gloss or gloss is the way I would do semi-gloss on trim all day long. But on walls, unless the walls are perfect, don't do semi-gloss. I still have one room painted with semi-gloss paint. It's the master bedroom, and you can't really notice it because it's not a bright sunlit room. That room never gets sunlight. But the living room, kitchen, bathroom, hallway, all of it semi-gloss. Let me explain something. This house was built in 1954. And back then, they didn't use the drywall that we have today. They used drywall or gypsum panels, and they're staggered. If we were to magically remove 2 layers of plaster, you would see offset rows of gypsum panels, about 2 foot by maybe 4 feet, 2 by 3, 2 by 4. They're not big. So that necessitated that the walls still had to be plastered. See, prior to the 1940s, plaster lath was the way to go. They would take little narrow strips of wood and cover the studs with these little strips, and then they would put like a scratch coat of plaster, horsehair plaster usually, over that by hand with trowels, and then they put their finish coat on. Then they would do primer, then paint. Well, by 1954, they eliminated the lath. Now they're using gypsum board. And it's not perfect. It's not a perfectly smooth surface from one end to the other. It's done entirely by hand, and it's a lengthy process, and it takes a lot of skill. Then you tack on 70 years. It's going to start, as the house ages and settles and wood shrinks and expands, it's going to develop visual defects. If you're lucky, it won't crack. So what we have here is a wall. I'm going to take my phone and go down the wall, and you'll be able to see it. Well, maybe not. But when the light hits it, you can kind of see it. But there's like a waviness to the wall. Now, one way to hide defects in materials and walls and ceilings is to use a eggshell or even a satin finish paint. So satin and eggshell, they absorb light a little bit more, and they don't show the defects and the repairs and all of the things that happen to a house as it gets older. In fact, I believe eggshell is the standard interior paint for that reason. In fact, modern day houses are built very badly from what I'm seeing. And if you start using a glossy paint or the wrong color or the wrong whatever, you're going to see it. So not only did I do the wrong sheen, okay, but I also picked the wrong colors. For this wall here, actually I tried to do something clever. I tried to do any wall facing north-south was painted with a lighter color, and then east-west were painted with a darker color. In my mind, it looked great. And maybe had I picked more contrasting colors, it would have looked great. But here's the thing. The colors I chose were very similar in shade, and they were grays. So I used a medium. Actually, this color right here, this is the actual color. It's very close to this, is what I used on this wall. And then I used a slightly darker gray on that wall. Needless to say, it didn't look bad, but it didn't have the visual effect I was looking for. So a couple years later, I went to Amelia and I said, "Listen, we should probably do something about this. Why don't we each pick out a color, and you pick out a color, I pick out a color, and we're going to try to make this room, give it some depth." So she chose a plum, kind of a maroon mauve plum kind of color. I picked blue. So that blue color right there, that's going to remain there for now. That is what was on these walls. And it actually looked pretty good. And then we had the plum over there. And I think it looked great. But we're heading into winter now. And it's been 4 years like that. And I'm like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to repaint this entire room and the kitchen, because we'll talk about that in a minute. And I picked the colors. So I went with a darker shade of gray in eggshell. And I went with that color. So this color is called Steely Gray. Now, I am a Steely Dan fan, and maybe that had some effect on my decision. I'm not going to say either way. This color is just some generic light gray. You can't go with white, and I'll tell you why in a sec. But I went with gray, and I also painted this section of wall in the same shade of gray. Now, the reason I can't really do white is I find that white doesn't look good with that baseboard color. All the house's trim throughout the building is this shade of, it's like an antique white. And I was able to get this duplicated at Home Depot. What I literally did is I took an actual kitchen drawer down to the paint desk and I said, color match this. And they did. And they got it, they nailed it. Nailed it. So as I'm painting the rooms now, that's the other thing, is I didn't paint any trim when I bought the place. I just cleaned it. I didn't paint any trim. So it was looking kind of haggard, if I'm honest. But as I painted this room, I'm doing all the baseboards, all the windows, everything. So it's starting to look a lot better. Really bringing it back to life and making it look less derelict. But all the while, I'm looking for defects in the plaster, and I'm fixing them as I see them. So obviously nail holes are a no-brainer. Those get patched. But over here, we had a crack in the wall. It's probably been there for 50 years. Hey, Butterboy. Hi. But he just said hi. There was a crack from the corner of that return register to the window trim. And it was kind of like a bit of an angle there. That crack is now gone. You can barely see that it was ever there. But it's been there for a long time. And it's no surprise because that is an air return. So that wood gets all the humidity from the house and expands. It's not a great design, the way they routed the duct work in this house. But this has duct work literally in the walls. Now, these return ducts don't have any metal work in them. It's just, if you take that register out, you're looking at the sheathing of the house with no insulation on the other side of it. So that's how they did things back in the 50s. They don't do that anymore for good reason. So those studs on either side of those registers, they've clearly not expanded and contracted at the same rate as the other studs, because there are no other cracks in this house. None. And that's a good sign. It means that it was possibly built right. But we don't really get the cracks in the plaster that you would typically associate with an old house, especially in the ceilings. And I got to thank my lucky stars that is not a problem here, because that can be a costly repair to do it right. Now for the kitchen. When I was picking out paint colors, I was not really thinking clearly. I picked almost like a slight sage green. I think it was actually called sage green or moss green. And I thought that would be the color to set this room off. No, it was not. It was a mistake. That color, and not only that, but I did it in semi-gloss. Sorry, I'm going to turn this down. I'm doing a little bit of cooking. Let's take a look at what I'm making. Oh, what's all that? Window hardware? Yes, it is. I'm going to put all that back on. That's original window hardware that I took off and saved for the latches. And I put these latches on. I bought these at Home Depot. The idea was I wanted to get a latch that was better at pulling the sashes together, and these are not good quality latches. They are all rusting. The original latches were made out of, I don't think they're brass. I think they're pot metal, but they're built better than the ones that they sell today. Thankfully, I kept them, and I'm refinishing them in a satin nickel, and so that it matches all the other stuff I'm putting in the house. They were brass plated, but anyway, they're going back on. They need to be painted. They look like shit. Cleaned them in the ultrasonic cleaner for an hour, and putting a nice baked enamel finish on all of those. But back to the paint. So I used a semi-gloss moss or sage green. It just didn't look good. It was kind of depressing, and I've been meaning to do something about it for some time. Well, I was already in the middle of painting the living room when I had this bright idea. Why don't I just do the damn kitchen at the same time? So this color here, this is called Relax. It's a... Was this a Magnolia? No, this is a Valspar color. And I wanted to separate the kitchen a little more from the coat area. So that's exactly what I did. I took this area here and I painted it in the same color scheme as the living room. So that way this is a separate area. This is a separate space. It's not part of the kitchen. I don't want it to be part of the kitchen. I put the coat rack was here. I put it there. Got a bigger one at the same time. And I'm really liking this look. I think this is actually going to help, give the house a little more depth. Now, you'll notice that I put what are these? Well, they make corner guards for drywall, for high traffic areas, for areas where there's going to be some, someone or something will bump into the corner. Those corner guards are, they were out of stock. Now they're made out of plastic or vinyl. Well, it just so happened that they were out of stock when I went to go buy some after I had painted all this. And I had a better idea, and this is my better idea. Go over to the hardware section and buy yourself some aluminum channel stock. This is extruded aluminum L channel, and all I did was I cut 2 6-footers in half, so I have 4 3-footers, and I took these over to my belt sander and I sanded the edges round so that nothing can get caught on them, and put them in. I polished them with a little bit of steel wool, WD-40. Adhere them with Loctite Power Grab, and this is going to be a permanent repair. So what was happening is, as we move our laundry baskets throughout the house, we move things from the basement occasionally, and vice versa. And these are always getting bumped into, and I have had to repair these corners. Oh my God, I cannot tell you how many times. So I have a whole procedure. I fill in the chips with plaster, or drywall mud, and then I sand it smooth, paint it, and it's good for another month. Then it gets hit again. No more. These can take an impact, and they'll last longer than the plastic ones. These will last forever. I mean, these are never going to ever have to come off the wall. And you can, if you're good at painting, and I'm getting better at it, you can edge your brush up to this, and if you have to paint the wall again, you can do that too. So that's my solution to that. The kitchen's kind of a mess. I had it cleaned spotless, and it's just a lazy Saturday. I just got finished doing all this work, so. But what do you think? I mean, I like this color. See, when I was picking out the color for the kitchen, I was trying to replicate a color that I saw in a photo. So I forget what photo it was, but it was a similar laid out kitchen, and the sun was coming in, and the paint was just glowing. It had a nice iridescence to it. It seemed, just the way the light hit it. And I'm thinking it was a greenish color, but no, it was more on the blue side. And I think I'm right, because I think this has a nice iridescence to it. If I pull the camera back here, zoom out, yeah, I'm already zoomed out, it just works. And then if you pull back a little more, look at this. You got some neutrals, you still can see the yellow of the counter. The thing is, when you're picking out colors, there are certain features in the house that you have to make it work. And with yellow countertops, they're not very common these days, and there's not a ton of colors that complement yellow countertops. You kind of have to stay I feel that you have to kind of stay in the blue-green side of things. You could do a neutral, like a dark gray would look nice with these countertops, I think, but dark gray is boring, it's depressing, it's common. I wanted something a little bit different, a little bit brighter, a little bit more lively. So this kitchen looks alive. That's what I'm going to tell myself, so that I can justify what I just did to the kitchen. But I like it, Amelia loves it, and that's all that matters. Now, getting back to some of the mistakes I made when I bought this house, there are two things one thing I regret, but one of the first things I did was I pulled out all the original light fixtures. Now, probably thinking, oh my God, you're pulling out, throwing away mid-century light fixtures, you moron. Not so. The light fixtures that were in this house, in the bedrooms and the kitchen, they were bottom of the barrel. They were just cheap light fixtures with those square glass covers on them, and they were blue. Blue. Yuck. I had blue light fixture covers. Now, blue is a wonderful color. The problem is, when your light fixture emanates blue light, it just irritates the shit out of me. The one that was in what Amelia uses as a dressing room, we're not going to show that room, it's kind of a mess. But it had, she had actually painted that room kind of like it was almost like a white, but with a little bit of a blue tint to it. And when I went to go turn on the light in that room, my eyes were burning. Like, it did not work. It did not work one bit. It was the wrong color. It was the wrong light cast on it. It just hurt my eyes. I'm like, what the hell? And that was really what triggered that. So I pulled all of those out, threw them in the trash. I don't like those. I never did. I think they're ugly. And the UPS guys here? I didn't order anything from anywhere. Is he coming here, or is he going next door? Let's see. Let's see what he's doing. See what he's doing over there. What can Brown do for me? I don't know. Let's find out. The cat's yelling at me. Come on. Anyway, so it was just too much on the blue, and it hurt. I took all those out. Now, I could have just swapped out the covers with a more neutral. Oh, it's Amelia's order. She bought a bunch of wax. All right. Amelia's making candles. She's started this hobby. She's actually out at a craft fair selling candles right now, and she's trying to make a go of that. So she ordered a new candle wax maker or melter and some more wax, and hopefully that works out for her. But anyway, so rather than go on eBay or go into salvage stores to find better quality vintage light fixtures, I decided to just put in builder grade modern stuff. And I actually kind of like these. People don't like these. I do. They do put off a lot of light. They don't look bad. But they're, whatever. So I bought these for the Amelia's room, her dressing room, where she stores all of her clothing. And I bought one here for the hallway. I also put one initially in the in this little alcove here. But clearly that was removed. Those are I think they're purposeful, they work well, but a lot of folks, they just hate on them, and I get that. They're kind of like they're like the stereotypical builder grade light fixture. They're nothing special. Anyway, for the master bedroom, as you guys probably already saw in other videos, I did put in a ceiling fan. And that is, obviously that works out quite well. Amelia didn't want one in the room that I gave to her. So I'm like, I'll buy you whatever ceiling fan you want. Just go pick one. No, she didn't want one. Okay. Sorry I asked. So now I'm at a point where, everything's settled. All the major house repairs are taken care of. And then, believe me, there were so many repairs that had to be done. This house was neglected for the last 30 years. This house had been completely neglected. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is it was never stripped and gutted and modernized and flipped or anything. But the bad thing is it meant that I had to play catch up. So I bought the house at an absolute bargain. I don't mind telling you what I paid because I think it's interesting to see how housing markets are based on where you live. But this house sold for $190,000 in 2018. $190,000 in context in 2018 was on the very low end of it was kind of on the low end, of the pricing of houses around here. Not really. No, I don't. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that low. Because for the same money, for $230,000, I was between a brand new house in a brand new cul-de-sac. Brand new house, unfinished actually. When I looked at it, it was still under construction. I could have had that house for $230,000. Now that was out in the country where I came from. Okay, it was in the town that I came in where the condo was, still is. $230,000 brand new house. It was a 3-bedroom, 1,200 square foot, no, 1,300 square foot, 2-car garage, heated garage, 1 acre of land. It had radiant heating in every room, so it had built-in. It was built on a slab. There was no basement and no attic, but 1,300 square feet of living space. Beautiful house. Nice quality construction. I actually looked at the houses that were under construction while I was still, house hunting, and I could have had that for $230,000. But no. I wanted to live closer to work. I wanted to live in a more convenient area. I live in the outskirts of one of New Hampshire's major cities, and this is the outskirts. This is the nice section of the city. This is where you can actually raise a family and enjoy life out here. It's quite nice. This was $190,000. So for just a little bit more money, I could have had a brand new house, but I fell in love with this house. Amelia liked it. You know, she wouldn't have had to relocate very far to live here. It worked out, I think, for the better. But I still think about that. I could have had a brand new home for $230. Well, anyway. Now, in 2024, that house for $230 is probably worth about $500,000. No, I think that's a little on the high. I would say it's an easy 400 to 450. This house, according to all the estimates I'm seeing in the more poignant figures, this house is about 425. If I were to sell this house today, I could walk away with 425. You know, that's a good chunk of money, but I can't buy anything. You know, what am I going to buy? You know. But I did put a lot of my hard-earned money, sweat, and tears into this house, just in basic things. I mean, day one, we needed a new roof. Plumbing was clogged to the street. I mean, it was an endless shit show of just problems. Wiring that was insufficient, outlets and switches that were broken, all of that got replaced. I made some improvements. I added this light fixture. So yeah, let's get back on light fixtures. So I was going somewhere with this. I was going to start looking at buying some original mid-century modern fixtures, or not mid-century modern, but mid-century. And I came up with a couple of options. But I wanted to get a circline fixture for the kitchen. So I just so happened my coworker said, "Oh, I've got one in my house. You can have it." And it was a 16-inch. Now, those are not as common. Those are very hard to find. I have not been able to find another one like it. I'm like, I'll take it. So that's a 16-inch circline. It puts out a ton of light. It has the right look and feel for this kitchen. I think it's perfect. But prior to him giving me this, I actually bought a brand new one. This is what you get in the modern day. You can still buy these. This is a 12 and an 8, so 12-inch and an 8-inch bulb, so it puts out even more light. This is a nice little fixture, and I didn't pay a ton of money for it, but it's modern. It's not an antique, but this one is. And just recently, my nephew, my 10-year-old nephew, was over at the Still Good Shed at the local town dump where he lives with my parents and my sister. And my dad brought him to the dump, and they went to the Still Good Shed, and he found this box of light fixtures, and he's like, "I want these." And my dad's like, "Okay, load them up." He's got 3 of these. Now, these are, I forget the brand name on these, but there's 3 of them in that box, and I have managed to barter with him. I'm going to take the other 2. He gave me this one, because he only wanted 2 for his bedroom. Gave me this one, and I'm gonna actually buy the other 2 from him. I'm gonna barter with him, so I can get myself 2 more of those. One's gonna go there, and one's gonna go in the hallway. So we're gonna have some authentic 1950s light fixtures. Those are actually from the mid-60s, so not 50s, but close enough. And they're worth a fortune. I looked up what these are worth. I found some on eBay, and they're selling them for crazy money. So that was a nice little bonus. But I'm going to take this circline fixture, and I'm just going to store it for a while. I don't know where it's going to go. I can't think of a good place in this house for it to go into, but I'm going to take it down, and I'm going to put that other fixture there. I put this here because my coworker gave me that. So, anyway, and this is a better fit for the kitchen because this is authentic. This is a 58, came out of a house built in 1958. So it's more authentic than what we have over there. So, looks like my dinner's ready. I'm going to pull these out of the oven. I put them in for an hour. I think that's a long enough time. 220 degrees, 1 hour. And when that finish should be pretty solid. There we are. Put them right there, let them cool off. And I'm gonna reinstall these. So let's talk about more mistakes I made. So this would have been a mistake had I thrown these away. But let me tell you a sad story. All of our heat registers were the originals. They were the pull chain type, wall mounted, 6x10, I think, and we had them in every room. And they were a very simple design. They were kind of a streamlined, heavy steel design, and they had the pull chains for the doors in the back. They were nice little vents, but they were all in pretty rough shape. They all needed to be stripped and painted, and in some cases they had to be derusted because they were rusting. They were just kind of in rough shape, and I was running on full throttle, just trying to fix this place up, and it would be faster if I just put in new ones. And I wasn't thinking. I threw away every single one of those vents. Every single one got thrown away, and I have regretted it ever since. Because as things started to calm down with the house and things are starting to come back to normal, I'm like, gee, if I only had those original vents, I could clean them up and put them back. Unfortunately, I made a mistake. I did a thing I shouldn't have done, and I regret it. I'm upset about it, but I can't dwell on it because it's nothing I can change. I tried finding more of the originals. So it had matching return vents. Yeah, I can't find them anywhere. They are completely unavailable. Nobody's got them. I found a couple on eBay, actually, but they wanted $100 a piece, $200 a piece. It was stupid money. I'm like, I'm not paying that. So we're going to live with the new ones, and we're going to be happy about it. So there you go. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.
It's okay. I still love you. I'm gonna cut your nails.
Hi, Tommy. I almost didn't see you there. Anyway, he blends right in. So I'm going to go ahead and swap out this light fixture. I've already cut power to the kitchen, and we're going to put a more authentic vintage light in its place. There we are. There we go. So this is a fixture that I bought originally for the kitchen, and then somebody gave me an OG 16-inch circ line, and I'm gonna have to go ahead and just probably touch up this ceiling a little bit, but we're gonna just pull this fixture down. I'm going to grab some new wire nuts. You're not supposed to reuse these. Believe it or not, you are not supposed to reuse them, but a lot of people do. I'm also going to need to add I need some long screws for that fixture mount. So, hi, Oreo. You want to come in? Yeah, you do. All right. So this is, we're going to put one of these up. I got 3 of them total. That was the find of a lifetime. but I need to find some screws that will fit into that fixture bracket. Come on. Come on, Oreo. Let's go. Come on, buddy. Just come on. Okay, there we go. Or better yet, go through my pile of goodies and try to find one like it, so I can save that for the other fixture, maybe. I don't know. I can take that post out. This isn't designed to mount directly to the box. The spacing is not gonna... Oh, maybe it will. No, I think you need a mount. Some of these you can mount directly to the... Oh yeah, see, look at that. That ring from the old fixture that was there years ago. Let's go ahead and paint the ceiling, and then we'll worry about the mounting brackets first, after. I know I have a couple of those light mount boxes, or brackets. I'm just gonna go find one. I went ahead and painted around the fixture. I can come back later and we'll probably just do the whole space, just because. And what I'm gonna do is, yeah, now I gotta let that dry, see how it looks, and maybe do another coat. I might have to grab my sanding sponge. I didn't even think to do this until now. It's a little late for that. But there's a little bit of a ridge where somebody painted. By the way, guys, don't ever paint around ceiling fixtures. Just take them down. If you're going to paint a ceiling, take your damn fixtures down. Because if you ever change that fixture at a later date, you're going to have, like what we have here, you know, now we have to paint the whole fucking ceiling. But anyway, so the new one is only just marginally bigger than the next size light fixture that was installed, the original fixture. Which, when I bought this house, there was a I actually know, you know what? I believe the original fixture was actually still there, and it was not a very pretty one. It was actually quite ugly. Not as ugly as the square blue glass units, but it was still not the prettiest. All right, I gotta find me a bracket that'll work with that fixture. And a brand new one. You can actually buy these separately, but I happen to have a brand new light fixture. That's a new wire nut. We'll throw these away. You're not supposed to reuse these because they have threads that are designed to cut into the wire. You're also supposed to strip and cut and restrip the wire. We're not going to do that. We're just going to use new nuts on there and call it a day. So I got to take the old bracket down. We're going to save that one for the fluorescent light should I ever find another place to put it. Maybe it'll go back here someday. I don't know. All right. So I actually cannibalized a brand new fixture that I have in the box. I'm putting these beehive lights in the closet spaces. Phillips head. And so I have a bunch of those kicking around. I'll take this. Just pull the whole fixture down, and you can see this is what was here when I bought the house. There was actually one probably a little smaller than that, but they never bothered to paint. This has to go inward, I think. We're going to leave this bracket here, but I'm going to have to move the screws in a little more. So I've got to paint all around it, which is going to be fun. Things I do, you know? The things I do. But the nice thing is there's no ridge built up. This is all smooth. So I should be able to just slap a few coats of paint around the fixture. It probably won't blend nicely. I'm going to probably end up having to repaint this entire ceiling. But while we're here working, we're going to do that. So one of the things I'll do in this, what I've done, is I've actually kind of blended it in a little bit around the fixture. So I'll take the brush and I'll run the paint out and fade it in so it's not like obvious. It's still wet, so you can still clearly see where I painted. but I may end up having to grab a roller, and I might just do all the ceilings in the house at this point. I think it would be a smart move. I just hate doing ceilings. It's a lot of work, and you know, it's just a lot of work. I don't want to paint ceiling. That looks beautiful, but does it clear the door? Okay. Yes, it does. Let's turn it on. Let's take a look. Ooh. I like it. I like it, I like it, I like it. It's gonna be nice. Beautiful. See? Huh? Is that right? Nice milk glass globe. That paintwork came out nice. I don't have to repaint all of it. I actually painted most of this, but now let's do the hull. So that's, I just put another coat. You'll notice that I did a nice radius around the fixture. Now what the end result of that is it's going to help kind of blend in where I haven't painted. So I don't really have to do anything right now, but we're just gonna kind of blend it like this. You know, so it's not like an obvious, it's not an obvious thing, you know. Make it less obvious. And that way, when I do decide to repaint the ceiling, I don't have to worry about the light fixture coming down or getting anywhere near it. I just have to roll around it. It's not going to be a big deal. The same thing that we're going to do with the edges. But this ceiling could probably stand to be repainted anyway. That may be what I end up doing. So, but we'll see what this looks like when it dries. I'm going to put a fan on it just to speed things up a little bit. But that's it for paint work for this job. And then, you know, we'll probably revisit this later. One of the things I'm doing with these is I'm putting a little bit of silicone grease on the threads. And what that's going to do for us is it's going to allow it to thread in a little bit smoother. This is a Super Lube multi-purpose. And we're just going to put a couple of dabs of it on the threads. It just makes it that much easier threading in to the aluminum socket. So now these actually have a rubber seal on them. These are actually designed for wet or dry locations. So you could use these as porch lights. So, you know, they're pretty well sealed from the elements. That grease just allows it to thread in that much smoother. And there you go. So now, what do you think? Let's zoom out a little bit. Think that's a nice look for it? I do. I think it's beautiful. I think it's perfect. I think that's the best solution to a problem that didn't exist before. Look at that. Nice. And again, because of how I painted the ceiling, I don't have to, you know, this doesn't look bad at all. You can't really tell because I kind of feathered it in all around in a wide, you know, so you don't have that contrast, that, you know, that shock of old versus new. The ceilings were painted probably around 2017, 2016 maybe. That's what I'm thinking. They were recently painted when we bought the house. So the paint on the ceiling isn't that old, and it's not, there are no water stains anywhere in the house. We got lucky there. But I think that's absolutely gorgeous. It's very period correct and simple. And I got them for nothing. Well, I got a barter with my little 10-year-old nephew. My 10-year-old nephew found these. Like, dude, thanks. So, all right, that's it for now. Mm-hmm. All right, I wanted to show you guys how these togglers work. So this is the unit right here. You set it offset like this, and these kind of slide back and forth. So what you're going to do is you're going to drill a 1/2 inch hole Okay, you can pull that back now. 1/2-inch hole in the wall. Again, we have 1-inch thick plaster here, so this is a good test of this. And you're gonna slide this unit right in like that, and then you're gonna straighten these pieces out so that they're flush with each other at the end. See? And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna push this retainer, pull it towards you while you're pushing this into the hole like that. And then you crack these off just like that. Now, when I hang the shelf, I already have my screws in hand. And I'm going to slide these screws into the fastener like that. You have one shot to do this. There are no do-overs. And then we're going to take our screw gun and we're going to just drive these in all the way. And the benefit of this is, let's say we don't want this shelf here anymore. We can take the screws out and the anchors remain. If I don't want the anchors to remain in the wall, I can just simply push the break on part and push it through. And then it lives inside the wall forever. So we're not going to go too tight on these. They don't need to be. But this shelf is now anchored permanently to the wall. And that gives you a very strong and permanent mount. One problem with this shelf, and I may have to make some changes to the shelf itself, is these screws stick out a little bit. And the screws are supposed to be flat. Unfortunately, that is not possible. So I might have to actually notch out the shelf. But if I really wanted to, I could go to the hardware store and just pick up screws with the same thread pattern and just get flat ones. Yeah, I'm gonna have to notch this shelf out a little bit to make this go in. Because you can see there's some interference. But other than that, it's a pretty perfect system. So I'm gonna do what I need to do with those anchors, and then we're gonna go from there.